Hello, everyone, and welcome to week day 25 of the Hope Project. And I'm so excited that you're still here, still sticking through. I think that in itself is maybe a win that we need to be talking about. I mean, wins, gosh, sometimes they sound like they need to be something so amazing and such a big deal, but it's really those little wins, those little accomplishments that we lose sight of so quickly. And those are what's going to motivate us to keep going and keep staying motivated. Those little wins. I don't know if you still have all these trophies and amazing things that you did as a kid. I mean, my son got this on a Hot Wheel race not too long ago. And so this is one of his little wins, or maybe something that he did when he was little, that will help motivate him to continue to have some stamina and keep going and keep making it through. Keep working on all those letters of the alphabet and the little things that keep blending together to create the wins and eventually the victories. It's a really pretty cool concept of little wins, big victories. And I'm going to talk about the gal who created that concept in just a little bit. But I also want to make sure that you really think about wins, as you don't have to win the lottery. You don't have to win the big thing for little wins to really matter. I know I've talked quite a bit about growing up because we all have experiences growing up, some worse, some better, but equally of value of a person because our experiences are unique to who we are. And so I know that wherever you are and whatever you've been through, whatever you've accomplished, you have had many little wins that you may have lost sight of. I know one of the things for me is growing up in a home where I had talked about that was just really entailed with child abuse and neglect. One of my big things was food. I wasn't allowed to have food with the rest of the family. I wasn't allowed to have food at all. So one of the things that I did a lot was I would go outside because I'd get locked outside, and I would use a crowbar and I would bang at a can and I would pull it open and eat out of the can that way. I also would do some pretty cool things like pull fresh vegetables, which is probably a big deal right now, out of the garden. Garlic, wild garlic was one of my favorites. And I really never noticed at the time that those were little wins for me, because now I'm very resourceful with my food. I'm pretty creative with how I acquire those things, but also I have some pretty good endurance. I'm not afraid of touching some dirt and working hard for those things. I am pretty savvy of how to open things and how to be financially savvy whenever I'm trying to get food. It's pretty cool things that those are some victories that had came from those little wins that I can't change having experienced it, but I can learn and I can grasp that experience to empower me to become a better person. That's using those little wins as big victories later on. It's a really cool thing, and I think you could probably think of some pretty cool experiences that you had. So one of the another little story I can tell you from that while I'm pulling this up is I remember walking through our pond. We live right by a creek, and I would walk through the creek and I would walk through and there'd just be leeches up and down my legs. And I remember throwing the leeches off my legs, and I would go and I'd try to get a goldfish or something of that side. And remember now, or I'm thankful now, that I can go and I can do those things and not be afraid of that with my kids, and I can teach them to be tolerant of some of these pretty cool things that we get to experience that other people may not be familiar with, or maybe be scared of, or maybe not have experience to help their kiddos experience those pretty cool memories. So the concept when we're thinking of our wins is little wins, big victories. Diana Mosier, she is from California. She is a realtor. I would highly recommend that you check her out. Just Google her name. She's an amazing gal, resilient gal who suffered through a lot of abuse, and quite a story that she has of trauma that she's gone through, but then the way she's became resilient by remembering those little wins and pursuing those big victories. One of the things I want you to remember when you think about wins is wins also entail loss. It's the value of the wins sometimes that we get because we have loss or lost, whichever way you may have experienced that in your life. It also entails resilience and it entails endurance because wins aren't always immediate. I know I never felt like having to crack my can of canned food open as something that would be a little win. But I definitely would say now that the fact that I know how to use a crowbar and how to open a can whenever my can opener doesn't work, I think that's a little win for sure. Little wins are worth the investment. But remember, it's an investment. That means you got to put something down. You have to invest something to get something. Wins lose value when you're cheating. If you cheat, you take the easy way out, you try to get something simple, it's going to lose the value of the win when it becomes that victory. Or you might look back and not realize that it was really much of a win at all when it could have been if you had done it in an ethical, in a tolerant way that's best for you and the people around you. And remember that wins don't come with determined wins, meaning a lot of times our little wins in our moments that really lead us to victory doesn't come with a time stamp. It doesn't come maybe when we expect it, but the investment will come. So you may not know when the wins are coming, but I can guarantee you from experience that they will come. So don't lose hope in that. So today for your journal, I want you to reflect on some little wins you have had over your life. And I really want you to journal about those this time. Journal about your little wins and what type of victories have resulted from them. Maybe things that you experienced as a child that's equipped you to be the way you are, or maybe even things you've experienced as a parent or as an adult or in the employment that you're in. What has been some little accomplishments, little wins that you have had in your life that maybe you forgot were those wins that have got you to where you are? Because I know I definitely wouldn't be sitting here in front of a screen talking like this if I hadn't had those little wins to build me up and equip me to get there. And then I want you to make a written win that you want to push towards in the next month, the next 6 months, and a year. So these are kind of like goals, but a little bit different. Just some things that you want to pursue to accomplish and eventually get to a victory. And then put it in a place that will remind you. So often we create our little wins that we want to meet and we lose sight of them. So make sure that you put that in a place that's going to remind you of the value that you have in that. All right. Continue pursuing those, put it up there, and I'm going to be excited hearing about every one of those little wins that you accomplish and that you pursue and that you work towards. So excited to hear about it, and I hope that you have a wonderful winning day today, and I'll be looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a great one.